If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro, Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And everybody, let's bring in our next VIP guest. This is Victoria Coates. She is a former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump and a national security expert on the Middle East, Africa, China, and Homeland Security, and now, of course, a big part of the Heritage Foundation as well. Victoria, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
It's great to be here, Joe. I always enjoyed visiting with Judge Jeanine, but she's doing the Lord's work now down in our nation's capital. So
she really is. I mean, she's just been amazing so far as, a felony charge against a guy who decided that it was a great idea to walk up to a law enforcement official. In this case, it was a National Guardsman, and threw a Subway sandwich as hard as he could, hitting that person right in the chest. You could say, well, it's just a sandwich, but I think zero tolerance is the way to go here, because it was on video, and if you release somebody like that, that will encourage other people that they can do the same. And Judge Jeanine says no more. So good for her. Obviously, do you live in D.C. or are you outside in Virginia?
Actually, I'm a Philadelphian through and through. I'm in Philadelphia right now, but I work in D.C. and spend a lot of time. We have own property in the district, and as you say, the culture that has been allowed to develop in our nation's capital, where that kind of disrespect, regardless of the damage to the individual in question, I mean, that person felt he had impunity to attack a National Guardsman. I saw them yesterday, the big contingency at Union Station, which, believe me, needs it, because it's turned into an open air drug mart in front of the station, and passing out and overdosing, and you have the paramedics there 3 or 4 times a day, and now the National Guard is there cleaning it up.
No joke. And you coming from Philadelphia, I come from Newark, New Jersey, live a little bit north of there. That's how I get to Washington. Obviously, Union Station is the big depot there, right across from Fox News' bureau in Washington. And you're right. You get off that station, which is beautiful. Like if you just took all the homeless people out of it, and literally, the drug addicts that are wandering around, it's one of the most gorgeous train stations I've ever been in, and I've been to several around the world. And just to see that happening in our nation's capital, it's just so unacceptable that we're in the greatest country in the world, and yet we allowed this to fester for so long, but perhaps no more. And I want to play this clip for you, Victoria. It's from CNN, and it's from a guy named Harry Enton, who I think calls a pretty fair game over there. I mean, I know Fox is supposed to so-called compete with CNN. We have 5 times the audience they do, of course. But at the same time, if I see good work, I'm happy to call it out, whether it be on CNN or CBS or anywhere. And here he is talking about a poll, and you can't spin numbers in this case, where Donald Trump is seen far tougher on crime than Joe Biden ever was. This is cut 4. Go.
I think this sort of gives the game away here, because Donald Trump is like Air Jordan towering over Joe Biden when it comes to their handling of crime. Look, in 2024, look at where Biden's net approval was on crime. Way underwater there at minus 26 points. It was one of Biden's worst issues. Granted, pretty much every issue was one of Biden's worst issues. And again, look at where Donald Trump is. Way, way, way above Joe Biden. What is that? That's 27 points. So Americans vastly prefer Donald Trump's approach to crime than they did to Joe Biden's. And again, I think it gets back to the point that Americans are far more hawkish on crime than a lot of Democrats want to admit.
Wow. And Victoria, yet we saw Democrats all this week talking about how crime isn't all that bad in Washington, D.C. Oh, actually, it's down 30% when we've seen in evidence later showing that those numbers have been massaged and greatly manipulated. And overall, it just seems like Democrats here, Victoria, they're walking into a trap again. They're walking into this 80-20 trap where, like they did with men playing against women in sports, where they're taking the 20% side because they reflexively just oppose everything that Donald Trump supports and many of the American people support. But since they're so anti-Trump and they live in this MSNBC bubble, they walk right into this trap. They seem to be doing it here once again. This could be a big issue in the 2026 midterms, no?
Oh, I think it will be. And my son was a congressional intern this summer, and you have this crop of, 20 to 24-year-olds who are running around the Capitol having the time of their lives, working for our congressman, learning about our government. And one of his colleagues in another office was shot, killed, going to McDonald's. It was late, but it was by the convention center. And, this poor kid was riddled with 17 bullets. His mom was on Fox and Friends a week or so ago. It's just agonizing. That could have been my kid. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He wasn't in a so-called bad area. Yeah. He was just gunned down in random violence. That's what's happening. And if the Democrats want to double down on defending this and saying it's not so bad, we shouldn't take strong measures to prevent that sort of tragedy from happening. I mean, more power to them. I hope it keeps them out of power, because we need strong leadership like the president, like Judge Janine, to get in there and clean this out, who aren't there to win hearts and minds. They're there to keep the people safe.
And we're talking to Victoria Coates of the Heritage Foundation, former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump. So overall, you worked for the man, and we've seen now he's only been in office. I mean, we're not even talking, 8 months. It's remarkable. It feels like it's been 8 years. Obviously, the 4 years, 2017 to 2021. But this second term has been so far different from the first term, because the first year of Donald Trump's first term, particularly the first 8 months, saw him try to repeal and replace Obamacare, and then you had John McCain with the famous thumbs down. You saw his approval rating in the 30s, and it just seemed like he was running into a gale force wind, because he fires James Comey, as he should have. But then obviously the special counsel, the Robert Mueller investigation into Russia dominates the news cycle across the board. This time around, I don't see the leaks. I see him getting a lot of things done, like the big, beautiful bill as an example. And in general, it seems like the cast he has around him is completely and totally 7 times the upgrade that he had the first time around. What do you think the biggest differences are? I guess I pointed out the cabinet is obviously a big deal. But overall, it just seems like he has such a confidence to what he's doing now, when in his first term, it felt like he was constantly on the defensive for all the wrong reasons.
No, we know now, and some of this is getting released in terms of documents that are being unclassified about what went down with the then waning Obama administration at the end of 2016, and how they weaponized the government. And we found it when we came into the NSC on day one. I mean, Ben Rhodes had burrowed in some Obama acolytes into the so-called career support staff for the NSC, who were there to lay bombs for us. They went after General Flynn, who's the one who hired me, and he was gone in 29 days, throwing the NSC into total chaos.
Yeah.
And that is the NSC, how it functions in the executive office of the president, is the mechanism the president has to impose his policies on those career departments and agencies. And if you immobilize the NSC, it's very hard to do that as, a president who hasn't been elected to office before. So I think absolutely this time he is being much more aggressive. He knows what he's doing. He knows the levers of power. And, he is going after some very intractable problems and doing so very effectively. So yes, I think you see a very different president this time around.
And we're talking to Victoria Coates of the Heritage Foundation. I want to switch gears, because I was told in July that this was going to be a big, big dent into the success that we just talked about as far as Donald Trump's presidency. And that, of course, is the Jeffrey Epstein files. And what I contended from the beginning, because I try to look at things as logically as I can. And you've been around D.C. for a long time in terms of its inner workings, and I've been covering it for a long time. And all I know is that if there is incriminating evidence against a political opponent, especially one who may be, running for president, or who is the nominee for the Republican Party, or any party for that matter, it will be weaponized in a big hurry. It will be leaked to the press, and that person will be eliminated as a result if the evidence is damning enough. And with Epstein, we kept hearing that Donald Trump somehow is now part of this cover-up, that he doesn't want to release the so-called list because, he may be incriminated in it. Well, yeah, look, here's the things that we know. Donald Trump was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, he was. So was everybody, basically, who was rich and lived in New York. That's just the way it worked. Whether we're talking about Democrats, Republicans, celebrities, it does not matter. All right, so yeah, he was friends with Epstein. All right, but that's where it ends, it appears, because, again, if there was this nefarious list out there, I am certain that Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, before the 2016 election, as they did with the Steele dossier, for example, as they did with all the charges around Russia collusion that were not real, if they put that out there, they would have put that list out there. And now, I'll let you respond on the other side of this, Victoria. Basically, the Epstein story that the media was hyperventilating about so much, it's pretty much gone now. This is cut 9. Go.
Take a look here. Google searches for Epstein down 89% versus just 3 weeks ago, falling through the floor. It is no longer the top term searched alongside Donald Trump's name. That's been trading off between Taros and Vladimir Putin, with obviously the meeting coming up later this week. But at this particular point, the American people's interest in this story, it's quickly becoming something of a nothing burger.
And that's the thing, Victoria, right? I mean, well, let me ask you first. Where do you come down on all this? And in the end, is it enough? I mean, obviously there were victims. I'm not saying that shouldn't be investigated. Of course, it was a horrible thing. Epstein was a monster. But at the same time, we can't just start throwing out names of people who knew Jeffrey Epstein and automatically associate it with pedophilia. So, again, I've talked too much. I'll give you the floor. Where do you come down on all this?
No, it's really a disgrace, and you're 100% correct. If there were any there, it would have come out in 2016, and if it did come out, it would have come out in 2020, or it would have come out in 2024. It hasn't, because it's not there. And the Democrats, when they think they're going to have Bill Clinton in the crosshairs, who clearly had some kind of engagement with Epstein, suddenly we can't talk about it. And the minute they think it's going to somehow stick to Donald Trump because for whatever reason the government doesn't want to release those papers, I mean, I've heard it's because of the victims. It's to protect the victims, not the participants in the activities. But it's nakedly political. And the thing that's really disgusting, Joe, is that they're going after the First Lady. Hunter Biden, in his weird interview, accused Epstein of introducing Donald and Melania Trump, as if Melania was some sort of underage victim of Donald Trump. No, she's the First Lady of the United States. She speaks 5 languages. She's been a great First Lady, a woman of tremendous poise and dignity and grace. And that what they're suggesting is she was an underage prostitute. It's just outrageous. And she's rightly told Hunter Biden he has to recant this or she's going to sue him. I hope she does.
Yeah, and he has said since that that will not happen. So, sue him into oblivion. I'm sure all of his artwork can help pay for it. And we're talking to Victoria Coates, among other things that he may have earned over the years, of the Heritage Foundation. Yeah, I'd love for you to explain more, because we hear a lot of guests on Fox News that come from Heritage, for example, or like Molly works there, for example, right, as far as Heritage is concerned. But, I want to hear more about like what the mission is of the Heritage Foundation, because we hear the name out there, a lot of people being associated with it, but I want people to understand and be educated on what you guys do on a daily basis and the successes that you've had.
Right. I mean, Heritage has been in existence now for 52 years, so we're pretty venerable for a think tank. Our founder, Ed Fulner, very sadly passed away last month, but the stability and enduring value of Heritage is a real tribute to Ed. We're the world's largest conservative think tank. I think we may now be the world's largest think tank, period. And so we cover a full range of policies from a conservative viewpoint. I run the national security piece of it, have about 50 people working for me on global topics. And so we are working on things that might not seem like the sexiest topics in the world, but we're doing a massive AI-generated simulation on what would happen in terms of fuel and ammunition in the event of a war with China. The Pentagon does 30-day war games. We're doing a 90-day war game. And I'll tell you, the results are chilling. And we have the resources to do that sort of thing. We're engaged with the government. I'm not in the second Trump administration, but most of my friends and half my staff are. So we're working very closely with them on anti-Semitism issues, pro-Israel issues, as well as China, Russia, Ukraine. all of those fun topics.
I was about to say that. Heritage.org is the website. And I know the feeling, by the way, as far as like most of your staff works for Trump now. I'm literally, I think, like it's me, Lawrence Jones, and Kilmeade. I think we're the only three left at Fox at this point. Everybody else has been hired. Of course, I'm joking about that. But yeah, it's amazing to just be able to like text the Secretary of Defense, because, I became friends with Pete over the years, and, whether it be Rachel Campos Duffy in terms of Sean Duffy and just like all these people that I was friends with and like hung out with are now in important positions. But they're not just there because they are on Fox. It's because they had the experience in Pete's case for 20 years or in Sean's case in Congress for all those years, running all those committees. So it's great to see. And you mentioned Ronald Reagan, by the way. I was just at the Reagan Library in Simi Valley and got to tour the old Air Force One, and I thought that was a pretty cool thing. Have you ever been there?
Oh, yeah. No, that's an amazing institution. And you look at Simi Valley, the Nixon Library, which is out there, and then you look at what Obama is building in Chicago. My dirty little secret, Joe, is I have a PhD in art history, so I take aesthetics very seriously. It's one of the reasons I'm glad the president is talking about making the Capitol beautiful as well as safe again. But if you look at what Obama's building, it's aggressively ugly. It's like an assault. And you go out to Simi, and it's so peaceful and beautiful, and you get a sense of who Reagan was and what his presidency meant. And that kind of dignity, I'm sure, is what will be brought to President Trump's library.
I hope so. Barack Obama's library, by the way, is now north of $1 billion, a shrine to the most subpar average presidency in history. And Chicago's falling apart, but hey, Obama will get his $1 billion shrine. Go figure. Anyway, they're telling us, Victoria, that we're out of time, but this was a pleasure, our first interview, I believe, and let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Joe.
All right, take care, Victoria. Victoria Coates of the Heritage Foundation. This is Joe Concha. Back with more in just a moment.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.